If you've seen a few of my videos, you'll likely be aware that when it comes to consumer electronics, I tend to be drawn towards the unusual. And that goes for the design as well. If there were two devices that performed an identical function, but one of them looked a bit weird, I'd buy the weird one every time. And with that in mind, when it comes to disc players, I'm quite interested in the ones where the disc sits slightly outside the limits of the mechanism. It's not hidden away behind a cover. So, for example, we have the Sony D88 CD Walkman, where an 8cm CD would fit inside the case, but a 12cm one would go beyond the limits of it. Much the same as the Sony PSQ7 record player. Again, a 12-inch disc sits outside the case. And then, of course, we've got the Sony PSF9 up there. One of my favourite things. Again, that one has the records sitting outside. Another one that I've shown was the Soundburger. I like things where the media that's spinning is on show. And with that in mind, I've got a new CD player to show you today. So many of those things were from the past. This one you can actually buy new today. It's the EC Smart from Shanling, a CD player that is very reminiscent of that Sony PSF9. Let's get it out of the box and have a good look at it. Now you'll notice that this is a stereo CD player, whoopee-doo, but if we spin the box around, that image there is reminiscent of the Sony PSF9 turntable. By the way, these speakers that you could just see on the edge were an optional extra to attach to this, which seemed to match the case. But yeah, that one looks a bit like the Sony record player. This image here, that looks a little bit like a Soundburger. So yeah, I think they know what they're doing here. So we've got a nice little 3.5mm to stereo phono jack cable so that you can attach your own stereo cable to that. The generic remote that seems to come with pretty much everything nowadays, but of course with different buttons on it. But it does the job, doesn't it? We don't have any batteries for that. We're going to have to stick a couple of AAAs in there. Oh, interesting. So it's a metal body, this one. It looks plastic on the pictures, but that is a metal case. Got a little bit of a protective thing in here. Round the back we have a USB-C in and a line out. Rubber feet on the bottom. This can be unscrewed, hence the bits on the back, but you can't use it with those with this because it doesn't lay flat, so you got to choose one or the other. Headphone socket on the side, controls on the front, and that's it. Now I think this, that is probably motorised. I can't see an eject button on there though. Oh, there we go. Do you think I'm supposed to do that? I could really do with reading instructions one day, but yeah, this mechanism in here is supposed to be of a decent quality. It's the usual thing where you clip your CD over this like you would in a laptop drive of old. Yeah, no, I think that's supposed to move because there's no eject button to auto move it. I thought there might be. I thought that might be a bit posh, but no. I've just had a bit of a thought. You know, the fact it mentions it's a stereo CD player, which of course is taken as read. I wonder if that's a bit of a throwback to the cassette players, which would say they were a stereo cassette player to differentiate them from the mono ones. Perhaps they've just pulled that through to the CD players. But yeah, I can't imagine buying a mono CD player. USB lead's a bit short, but of course they're easy enough to swap out. We'll plug the line out in as well. Now these, in theory, are supposed to be routed through here to keep the cable nice and tidy. However, that's a very narrow opening and it won't hold my cables. So yeah, you need to perhaps choose different ones. Even their own, I don't know, would that get in there? Yeah, we can get that one in there just about, but we won't. We'll spin it around. Now I noticed, looking through the instructions briefly there, that the remote, these additional functions on the top are for other devices, which is rather obvious. So if you had one of the Shanling amps or DACs, then this would also control that. But I'm going to connect it up to a Bluetooth speaker. But first, let's just switch it on and see if it does power up. So press the button there, and not a lot is happening. Okay, let's try that again. Hold it down. Ah, there we go, we're on now. Can you see that on the camera? It is quite dim. Let me reduce the lighting in here a little bit. Okay, well that's a bit clearer now. Of course, now I've got the lights low, I can hardly see the buttons, but I can see the display. Got a couple of CDs we can try on this one. I've got an MP3 CD and a CD audio CD for redundant terms, and we'll just put that in there and close it up, see what happens. It should start spinning. There we go. So it should have 15 tracks on here. It'll probably identify those in a second. Yeah, there we are. 15 tracks, 53 minutes, 37 seconds. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that 15 is a little bit close to the 53. I'd prefer it a little bit more to the left. I know it's only minor issues, but it's the kind of thing that I notice. Right, we'll turn the speaker on and we'll get it into the pairing mode. So I think we're on. Right, let's try playing a CD there. Notice how I skipped tracks then when I didn't intend to. Let's just go back, see if it's easy to... Yeah, you got to be a bit careful with these buttons after all. They're quite close together and you can easily press something twice. Right, we should be on track 4 now. The Bluetooth seems to have gone off. Have I pressed it? Let's press it again. Why is my Bluetooth disconnected? That's odd, isn't it? I don't know if you can see at the top there, it's flashing Bluetooth, but it's not connected to it. Okay, well, let's put this back into pairing mode again. There we go. That was a bit odd. It's not easy, this, is it? I'm trying to turn the volume up. Why is nothing happening? Turn it down, it's gone up. Hold on. Oh, 16's maximum. Oh. Yeah, you have to press CD first. Alright, so the operation of this is a little bit odd in places. I suppose you get used to it. We've got a dimmer button here. Let's see if we can make that display brighter. No, on and off, that's your option. Wonder what happens when we press eject. Probably not a lot, but let's find out. We've got stop and then we've got eject. Yeah, it just stops. Of course, it's down to me to move this out of the way and unclip this. Let's try it with an MP3 CD. I don't know if it supports MP3, but we're just about to find out. It's the same number of tracks, 15 tracks, same length, so it should appear on the screen if it's identified that. Yeah, there we go. And we can play that. Oops. Yeah, so it's fine with MP3 CDs. It is kind of tricky to press these buttons on here. I think you'd be better off sticking to the remote control. Gotta say, I'm a bit surprised it didn't come with the appropriate hex key to remove the bass, and the bass can't be removed without one. And see which of these orientations you prefer. So we'll just take that off now. There's a thing. We've got a washer in here. In fact, a couple of washers, I think, yeah. Once you remove that, you've got to be careful you don't lose anything. So we'll just pop that to one side. That's what your CD looks like in the flat orientation. I quite like that. I think that looks neat. You know, one thing I haven't tried is this headphone socket on here. I mean, there won't be much to say about it. It's a headphone socket, isn't it? But let me just go and find some headphones. One thing I want to find out is, will the audio come through to the headphones if that Bluetooth mode's still switched on? Well, at the moment I'm hearing nothing, but let's just turn the volume up. Yeah, still hearing nothing. What do I have to do to get these to work now? If I take that out, will it work? Let's have a look. Yes, they will. Oh, well, that's a bit odd. So to get my headphones to work, I can't have anything plugged into the line out at the back here. Bit unfortunate, isn't it? So plug that in now. Oh, hold on. It's working now. That is odd. What a weird bug. Honestly, I'm getting some strange things with this one. I can't quite tell. I keep thinking it's user error, but the number of things that keep happening like that. Okay, well the audio doesn't come through to the headphones if it's connected up to Bluetooth, which is kind of what I expected. Now, one thing I've noticed when I was trying to adjust the volume there, the volume key, or key I should really call it, just a zone on this thing, is just above the track skip. So you can easily track skip when you're trying to adjust the volume. Oh, and rather obviously, once a disc is playing, you can't recognise the artwork that's on it. It spins too quickly. You know, when I'm making these videos, I have to anticipate every possible question that someone might have. And I was just thinking, I bet somebody will say, I wonder if you put the stand on the other way round, if you could leave it on there and use it in both the horizontal and vertical orientations. Well, I'm just going to finger tighten that for the moment to show that I suppose you could. It doesn't sit completely flat on the back, but actually that's better because you've got a bit of clearance for the wires now. Let's just see if it stands up all right. No, yeah, it's going to fall over. So yeah, you don't want to be doing that. It's tilting forwards and it's very unstable. So no, this has to be on the other way around. Now, whilst you can, of course, use Bluetooth headphones instead of a Bluetooth speaker, the codec in here is just SBC, so no aptX or any of that kind of stuff. Sounds fine, but I think if you're really looking for the very best sound quality, you want to steer away from the Bluetooth and either plug some headphones in or plug the thing in via the line out to an external stereo system. Yeah, now if you're looking for someone who spent the afternoon leafing through a thesaurus trying to find new ways to talk nonsense about sound quality, well, you'll have to keep looking because as far as I'm concerned, it sounds fine. There's no hum, buzz or snap, crackle or pop. It sounds like a CD player playing a CD, and the CDs in it sound like a CD being played in a CD player that can play CDs. I think the main thing that this has got going for it are its looks. After all, that's why I picked it up. It's an interesting looking CD player, and I do appreciate the fact that somebody's making an interesting looking CD player that isn't cheap nonsense. There are a lot of unusual looking CD players, but they don't have the same quality of construction of this. It's got this metal case on the front. The back is plastic, by the way. But this is nicely dampened as well. I mean, someone's clearly spent a bit of time getting that to feel just right. But I will say it is a rather basic device. It has the functions that you need, but not a lot else beyond that. By that I mean, for example, the display on here, of course it can't display text, therefore it can't display CD text or your ID3 tags on your MP3s. It doesn't show your track remaining time, just the track elapsed time. It doesn't show the disc remaining time. You can't program in the track order in which you want to play them. It's missing some of the features that you could get on some more sophisticated CD players, but that isn't really what this is about. I mean, it doesn't look right in a hi-fi anyway. It is more a device that's suited for going on a desktop with its small footprint. It doesn't take up very much space at all. It looks neat. I will say though that the USB-C port is just for power. It's not a device that you connect up to a computer to rip your CDs. This is an audio player, not a computer peripheral. You know, one thing I saw a lot in the comments under that Sony D88 video were people saying that the spinning disc was dangerous, that if you touched it, you'd slice your finger off. The reality is that a spinning CD doesn't really have an awful lot of torque to it. It doesn't weigh very much. So if you just touch the CD, it'll just stop spinning. It's as simple as that. I think the most that you're doing is perhaps damaging the mechanism, but that's about it. Now here's something that you might find vaguely interesting. I wanted to find out what file types this thing could play beyond MP3 and a regular CD. So I've got this CDR on which I've put 5 different file types. I've got MP3, FLAC, WAV, AIFF and OGG Vorbis. This is a FLAC file. This is a 320 kilobits per second MP3. This is an OGG Vorbis file. This is file. That last one went a bit funny, didn't it? Let's try it again. So it played everything other than AIFF. Let's just have a listen to the WAV file again. I think the Bluetooth's disconnected. Something's wrong with that Bluetooth, you know. At least when it comes to connecting to my devices. Right, I think we've got the Bluetooth connected. This is a WAV file. Oh, looks like we lost the Bluetooth again. All right, well, we've learnt two things there. It can play a few different file types from a CD, and the Bluetooth is flakier than the singing detective eating a Greg's pasty. That is a very obscure reference. Okay, so let's sum this one up. Well, the first thing is the controls. This panel on the front here is just a user interface disaster. The controls are too close together, too easy to press two at the same time, or to double press one by accident. You can't see them in the dark, you can't differentiate them from each other by touch. And one additional thing I've noticed, you can't skim through a track, fast forward or rewind. Normally on a CD player you'd hold down the track skip and it would operate that function. Doesn't work on this, and it also doesn't work on the remote. It doesn't have that feature on here, which is a strange omission, but it is a strange device. Another thing, for the record, volume controls where you have to press up or down or hold a button, nowhere near as good as a good old-fashioned wheel. And talking of which, there's one of those on the Sony PSF9, a device that they seem to have taken a little bit of inspiration from, but they could have done with taking perhaps a bit more. The legs on this, you've got to unscrew them, make sure you don't lose any bits and put them somewhere safe. Look at this. We've got the legs for it standing up, and now if I turn them, oh, look, now I can lay it flat on the back. So you can put it in both orientations without taking the legs off. Technology from a lost civilization. And you'll have seen that I did encounter quite a few strange operational issues in the brief amount of time that I was using this, not least of which was with regard to the Bluetooth connectivity, which disconnected so frequently as to make that feature unusable, and it's also supposed to automatically reconnect to the last device it was paired with, and it didn't do that for me either on the two Bluetooth devices that I tried. Now, of course, you could try and blame that on the Bluetooth devices, but the ones I've used, one from Bose, one from B&O, they're not exactly low-rent, cheapo things, and they seem to have no problem with other devices that I've connected them to. So I'm going to put the blame here. Now, of course, then you come on to the old maybe yours is faulty defense, and yeah, okay, maybe it is. But I've got to say, I think this one, for me, is a bit of a swing and a miss from Shanling. I appreciate the fact that they made an interesting looking CD player, but that shouldn't come at the expense of everything else. And besides which, the design, whilst it is interesting, it hasn't been completely thought out. So the design's not perfect, and then the operation of it is severely lacking as well. So yeah, thanks for trying, but next time try a bit harder. Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.